Captain, are you sure about this? I think we're going pretty close to that star. Captain, I really think you should think about turning around. Captain? Oh my god! If you've heard of Elite Dangerous, you'll probably have heard mixed things about it. But of course you've heard mixed fucking things. Scoring this game out of 10 is like scoring your favorite protozoic organisms out of 10. No, that just isn't for me. Perfection. Scoring things out of 10 nowadays is just categorically wrong anyway. It's fucking irrelevant. For example, I recently saw Jumanji and I loved every second of it because I could watch Dwayne Johnson balance his checkbook all afternoon and I'd be on cloud fucking 9. I don't need a critic to tell me this film is... It's the same idea for games. Like, take Elite Dangerous. What's relevant here? What do you want from this specific game? Do you want to experience space travel? To learn what it's like in the quiet episodes of Star Trek between Riker talking about his dick? If you want to experience what it would really be like to explore the vast emptiness and desolation of space, Elite Dangerous gives you this in spades. And in VR, I can tell you it's fucking terrifying. And I'm not joking in the slightest. 35 hours in and this game still genuinely scares the life out of me. It's really relaxing here.
Oxygen critical.
What? Play this game in VR and you'll join me in my unconventional fear of the sun. Oh my god!
Damn you, son!
I can't say how true this is for the non-VR version of the game, as I haven't actually played it that much, but it seems to me that turning this game into such a convincing VR experience is a little bit sinister, because I am not trained to deal with this kind of psychological pressure. What the fuck's going on? Why is this happening? Let's move back a little and talk about the steps you'll have to take to get into this game, and decide whether or not it's for you. To play this game properly, you're going to want to get a joystick because you need a device as complicated as a keyboard that you can use without your eyes. This is because you can't use the VR controllers in this game because the commands you're going to use include, and are most certainly not limited to, nose down, nose up, wings left, wings right, pivot right, thrust forward, thrust back, thrusters up, thrusters down, thrusters left, thrusters right, direct power to engines, direct power to systems, direct power to weapons, engine boost, flight assist, toggle frame shift drive, activate supercruise, activate hyperspace jump, activate weapons and primary fire, use secondary fire, select target ahead, select next target, select target of highest threat, cycle forward through weapons, cycle backward through weapons, activate silent running, activate heat sink, activate cargo scoop, activate landing gear, jettison all cargo, and not forgetting ship sights. Being able to use all of these commands within VR on a keyboard is nothing short of absolutely crazy, so you do need to buy a joystick. I got this one, which obviously doubles as some kind of anal diagnostic. And you know what's especially fun? When you realize the box the world's most sexually suggestive joystick comes in won't fit in your fucking backpack, so you have to carry it home on a 30-minute walk through London like this.
Excuse me if you've got the time.
So you get this device of questionable intent home and lock the doors because the last thing you want is to be caught looking like this.
I'm a big boy.
You then need to map every function I just discussed onto the joystick. There are less than 25 direct input methods on this joystick, and you want to map roughly 35 commands. So you must map certain functions to activate when you press 2 buttons at the same time. In one of the training missions, we're told we're going to use the frame shift drive, but you've never heard of that, so you Google it and learn that it makes you go extra fast. So with this, you can go between planets and such. So you set up the button for that and you activate it. But then this doesn't work because you have to remove your mass lock. Okay, so we need to drive a minimum distance of 5 kilometers from the station to remove the mass lock. So once that's gone, you try and use the frame shift again, but you find you can't use it because you need to retract your landing gear drive. So we Google that and find out, okay, it's like landing wheels on a plane, so these need to be retracted. And by this time, all the buttons on the joystick are already taken by the basic flight commands. So for every single one of these commands, you have to make it so that you press 2 buttons at the same time to activate them. Then once you've done this, you can activate the frame shift drive, which charges and off you go. But now we're told we have to enter a destination. So we turn to the left and go to the navigation panel, then select the destination, click lock on, and now we're on our way. The difference between this and flying a plane in GTA 5? It's 2 hours. Now, I quite like that you have to do this. I feel like I'm actually learning how to drive a spaceship. And it should be quite difficult, shouldn't it? You know when you see an advert for a loan on TV and the company claims it'll be quick and easy and they'll give anyone a loan regardless of their credit statement? That's why the economy is garbage everywhere. Getting a loan should be difficult, and so should flying a fucking spaceship. I think that goes without saying. And here's the reason why a score out of 10 is so stupid, because it just depends if that's what you want. A really complicated ship that's difficult to drive means that once you've got the hang of it, you really have control. You can do almost anything because it's all controlled with separate specific commands that all do very different specific things. And it being difficult to learn is the price you pay for this. This is a fundamental part of Elite Dangerous. Do you want a complicated spaceflight experience? If you do, so far the game's a 10. If not, it's a 1. 6 out of 10. What an absolute load of shit. I do have to say though, this is quite a difficult point for me to argue because the training missions themselves are in some ways quite poorly designed.
But first, you better deploy your landing gear and get this diamond back on the ground.
Okay, so,
Cargo scoop deployed.
Landing this ship is gonna be pretty tricky without a fully deployed landing gear command.
yeah, alright,
Flight assist off.
How do you fly this fucking thing? They don't really do anything but tell you to do things you don't yet quite know how to do. It's like a checklist that says, these are the things you need to do. Go and learn what they are and how to do them.
Shifting the power between systems, engines, and weapons will mean you have power where you need it, when you need it.
They aren't really self-contained lessons. And as a science teacher myself, I find this quite annoying. And yeah, my Fallout 4 VR video did so ridiculously well, my students found it. Oh good, I'm sure if they watch more and show their parents my Gorn video, everything will be fine. I'm turning into a fucking serial killer. I am honestly scared every time I warp, every time I get scanned, every time I almost bump into something, every time I start to overheat, anytime anything unexpected happens at all. Oh god, no. Space is quiet. You sit and you mine with a star looming over you, the most dangerous object in the universe, slowly raising your ship temperature, your fuel ticking away. You've been here for half an hour, flying slowly around in near silence, and it's so quiet you can almost hear. Oh, please don't hurt me! Early on, there are just so many unknowns in this game, you have no idea what might happen, and every button you press brings up a fucking warning delivered so aggressively you'd think the ship wants you to crash.
Warning.
I'll clean my room, Mum, I promise! You start off with practically no offense. Offense? Offense. You start off with practically no offense, no defense, unequipped, ignorant, powerless, the size of the universe so mind-bendingly vast you feel even smaller. And I know I keep saying the VR in all these games is immersive, and this game isn't much more immersive than Gorn. But in Gorn, you're the fucking Antichrist, the bringer of all destruction and death. The fear VR brings to this game is incredible. Stars become even more intimidating, asteroid belts are devastating, the bitterness of ice planets is tangible. Oh god. Now, No Man's Sky seems to be criticised because there's a lot to see, but none of it has any centralized purpose or goal. I haven't actually played No Man's Sky yet, but this is just what I hear. I imagine Elite Dangerous receives some similar criticism. It's a game that has no main goal and no main influenceable story. It's down to the player to take what they want from it. And if that's not what you want from the game, it's totally fair, and we will go into that. But for now, let's imagine actually traveling across the Milky Way, which is what this game is a representation of. Seeing the gas giants, navigating suns, landing on planets just like Mars, experiencing and managing all the dangers that come with it. Oh god, please make this stop. I feel like Elite Dangerous VR genuinely brings you so convincingly close to these sorts of experiences that the act of just looking around space is so thrilling it gives the game an almost universal appeal. Sure, you aren't going to overthrow an army of space pirates and see the direct impact that has on the universe. The game is too nebulous for that. Do you get it? But I think VR adds a new dimension to this game that turns it into something for almost everyone. You see, for Elite Dangerous Vanilla to work for you, you need to genuinely find enjoyment in the sort of gameplay it offers. Being a space miner, a courier, a bounty hunter, just switching off from the world and focusing on managing resources and upgrading and personalizing your ship to a boggling level of detail. If this is what you want, then this game is most likely for you. But if you want a significant amount of regular, easy to access excitement and action, then I don't think this would be for you. What I see with this game getting 6 out of 10 sort of means that 6 out of 10 people who played this game wanted exactly the former. VR though is the icing on the planet.
I thought there was a machine inside this, like some explosive, but no, it's literally just a piece of plastic that I push. Look at this fucking mess!
It gives Elite Dangerous a whole new level of appeal for a much, much wider audience. It takes almost every aspect of the game and enriches it with a crazy level of immersion. The process of activating warp.
Please stop!
Arriving in an asteroid field.
Please stop!
Finding a new planet.
This planet looks cool.
It's so engaging, I think most people would easily enjoy and keep enjoying this game for a very long time. VR completely changes what it's like to play this game, without really changing the game at all. It's honestly quite amazing what VR can do for these games. This game certainly isn't perfect. Like, what the fuck does all this mean? Finishing the training missions is akin to fluking your driving test because your instructor was blind and then being dropped straight into the Arc to fucking triumph, except now you have a warp drive ability and an onboard computer so apathetic it may as well be the HAL 9000. It looks like you're completely fucked. A good example of the complexity of this game is when I tried to become an asteroid miner. So I went to an asteroid belt by a sun. Oh god, I wish it would stop that. To mine some of the asteroid for resources. So I fire my weapons on the rock to break a piece off and nothing happens. After doing some googling, it turns out I need to use a mining laser and not the weapons I started out with, which makes quite a lot of sense actually. So I go to a station to buy a laser. So I dock at the station. Shit, fuck, ow, sorry, I'm so bad at this, ow. I find the mining lasers and the weapons and I have a choice between turret or fixed. Turret. Fixed. Turret. Fixed. Turret. Fixed. So I go to Google. So it's multi-crew gunners that can use turrets. If they're fixed, the gunners cannot. What the fuck does that mean? So I go with turret. You cannot mine without a refinery. Oh, for God. Okay, so I found a refinery within the deepest catacombs of these fucking menus, and so the difference between these is the bin count. Bin count. Bin count. Bin count. Bin count. So I finally get everything in place and go back to the asteroid field. And I line up my mining laser and it doesn't fire when I press the fire button. What a fucking surprise. Why won't you fire? You're right there. Turreted version. A turret won't fire unless you have them under forward fire in your functions. So after doing some Googling, it turns out I look to the right and find functions, and there it is, forward fire. Yes, merciful God in heaven, why didn't it just default to forward fire? So I mine a chunk off, and then I have to navigate it into my cargo hold by driving into it. Fuck. Oh, shit. Where do you think you're going? The point I'm trying to make here is that Elite Dangerous is so customizable and so complex, you can control everything. But as a result, the first few hours are such a clusterfuck of options, menus, choices, and rules, it really is quite difficult to start out. The game may not make it easy, but that's what makes you feel all the more exclusive and savvy. You learned how to fly a spaceship on your own, and you pathed your own destiny in this game. With 100 billion stars to explore, you really can be alone in this universe. And as I keep saying,
it's your choice.
If this sounds like it's for you, I really recommend Elite Dangerous VR. If not, good God, you'll be bored.
My method? Who knows? But what's important, does it taste delicious? It's curdled.
The first thing I tried to do after finishing my training was frameshift drive, which is like warping, and I got this message with all the serenity of a fucking serial killer. Frameshift drive cancelled hardpoint gear scoop deployed. I don't know what any of this means, so I went to a forum to help me with the problem. Are you definitely sure your hardpoints are retracted? Let me just Google that. Are all 3 lights off? Weapon scoop gear. Yeah, they seem. Try powering, unpowering your modules. Do a repair diagnostics, and so on. And so on. I don't even know what the first thing being suggested. Are you trying to jump to a permit system? Your FSD is turned off or dead. Try the reboot and repair in functions. I remember functions. It looks like a bug of some sort. I'd raise a support ticket at https://support.elitedangerous. Couldn't this ship that is capable of traveling between fucking star systems just let me know what specifically is wrong here? Like, Matt, your weapons are out. Thanks, computer, you always were there for me.
I've written you a poem.
In none of the training missions did it mention you can't warp with weapons out, and I know it may seem obvious, but there are a million things going on when you start this game, and you have no idea what any of them mean, so you get confused quite quickly, especially given that both retracting weapons and activating the frameshift drive both have to be activated by pressing 2 different buttons at the same time because the game has so many commands. Have you ever been on the motorway for hours and hours, then come off a slip road and tried to turn a corner only to find you're still going 45 miles an hour because you've lost all reference of speed? I sometimes try and stop in Elite Dangerous only to find I'm traveling at twice the speed of light. I literally overshoot stopping at planets by the Earth's distance from the moon almost every single time. Or the opposite happens and I see a planet nearby and think I'll just pop on over there and the ship tells me I'm 2 fucking years away because here's a pro tip. Being able to see a planet doesn't mean it's nearby. In Elite Dangerous, I'm ready to pop my leg out and have a little stretch around only to find I'm the fastest moving being in the universe. The way speed, momentum, and scale work in this game is exactly how you would imagine it to work within the context of space travel. Brake slightly too late and you'll miss the planet by a couple of light seconds, which unfortunately equates to over 600,000 miles. It's the real life equivalent of braking too late for a petrol station and accidentally colliding with Asia. You start to imagine planets like tennis balls as they come and go so quickly. Then you try and stop at one and it totally engulfs your view in a matter of milliseconds and suddenly becomes bigger than your mum. It's probably the game's biggest achievement and lends to why it's so terrifying. You lose all sense of distance, velocity, size, displacement, force. The velocity you go and the distance between planets and the sizes of them never fail to totally throw me off guard, which is why I'm so scared of absent-mindedly bashing into a star. I spend 20% of my time in this game worrying about xenomorphs. There's a real overlap in the sort of cold mechanical nature between Alien and Elite Dangerous that means every time I think about what's behind me, I start to imagine this. I don't feel very well. Honestly though, I don't think Elite Dangerous Vanilla is my sort of game. I'm mainly interested in games that focus on telling a story that I can interact with and influence as the game unfolds, and that's just the way that I am. However, as a VR game, I couldn't enjoy Elite Dangerous more. It is the best VR game, simply for providing a mind-blowingly immersive and accurate interpretation of space travel and the universe. Ever since I was a kid, I wanted a game that did this, and it perfectly rekindles that excitement of the unknown when you look into the sky. Men in Black 2 is a terrible movie, but I really like the third one. The sound design is incredible and it contributes enormously to the atmosphere, and I occasionally swap out the game's music with the soundtrack to FTL and Metroid Prime, and they fit so perfectly, it's a dream. Hey everyone, thanks so much for watching. I'd like to give an extra big thanks to all my patrons, and especially Loke Zunberg, Liza Lek, Jerry the Hero, Jacob Soboleski, Austin Howard, Christopher Valenz, Vidar Sandstrom, and Trent for your super amazing donations. Thank you so much, guys. Have a lovely year.